Months passed. The pain slowly faded. Not completely though. Pain never disappeared completely. It simply moved to a quieter corner of the heart. At 21, Amara graduated. And at 22, she secured her first job. Life appeared to improve. She earned her own salary, helped her mother with bills, bought nice clothes, learned how to pretend she was happy. Then Victor arrived. The man entered her life the same way expensive perfume entered a room. Impossible to ignore. Victor was older, very confident and successful, the owner of a growing construction company. At least that was what he claimed. The first time they met was during a colleague's birthday party. Amara noticed him immediately. Not because he was handsome, though he certainly was. She just noticed him because he spoke as if every sentence deserved an audience. Even when asking for water, he sounded like a politician addressing the nation. Throughout that evening, he remained charming, funny, attractive, and still confident. When he asked for Amara's number, she hesitated. Only briefly though. Then she gave it to him. Within days, he began calling. Within weeks, they were dating. Victor was nothing like Daniel. At least that was what she believed. He bought gifts, sent flowers, ordered food deliveries, remembered anniversaries nobody else remembered. The relationship felt mature, stable, and safe. For the first time, Amara imagined marriage. One Saturday afternoon, Victor arrived with a large gift bag. Amara opened it. Inside sat a designer handbag she had admired weeks earlier. Her eyes widened. Victor! He smiled proudly. You like it? Like it? I love it. Victor leaned back. I pay attention. The statement pleased her. She had spent years feeling invisible. Now somebody appeared to notice everything. What she failed to notice was that Victor also expected something in return. Nothing dramatic at first, just obedience, agreement, availability, small sacrifices, tiny compromises, the kind that seemed harmless. Whenever she disagreed with him, he became cold. Not angry, but cold. There was a difference. Anger exploded more often. Coldness, punishment. He would ignore her calls, ignore her messages, disappear for days, then suddenly return. Happy, affectionate, charming. The cycle repeated so often that Amara began blaming herself whenever it happened. Perhaps she would have apologized sooner. Perhaps she would have agreed. And perhaps she should have been more understanding. Victor never shouted. He never raised his hand. Never insulted her directly. His methods were far more sophisticated as he controlled through affection. He rewarded obedience and punished resistance. Over time, Amara found herself working hard for his proposal. A dangerous thing happens when somebody controls affection. The victim begins treating love like a prize, something earned rather than freely given. One evening, they sat inside Victor's apartment. The television played quietly in the background. The atmosphere felt tense. Victor studied Amara. You don't trust me. Amara frowned. Where did that come from? You don't. But I do. He shook his head. No. What makes you think that? Victor sighed dramatically. You know what? Forget it. Whenever people say forget it, they never wanted anybody to forget it. It was an invitation to continue the conversation. Amara took the bait. Tell me. No. Victor. He looked away. If you love me, I wouldn't have to explain. The sentence landed perfectly. Victor knew exactly which button to press. By the end of the conversation, Amara was apologizing despite having no idea what she had done wrong. Later that night, she stayed awake, staring at the ceiling. Something felt wrong. She could sense it, yet she could not explain it. The relationship looked healthy from the outside. Friends admired it. Family approved it. Co-workers envied her. But nobody saw the confusion, the exhaustion, the constant pressure to prove herself. Months later, the truth arrived unexpectedly. Amara was scrolling through social media during her lunch break when a photograph appeared on her screen. At first, she barely paid attention. Then she froze. The photograph showed Victor, and beside him stood a smiling woman. And the caption read, "Counting down the days until forever, my fiancé, my best friend." Amara blinked. She read it again. And then she read it over again. Her hand began shaking. Fiancé? The word stared back at her. Cold, unforgiving, indefinite. And for several seconds, she simply sat there, unable to breathe properly. She was unable to think, unable to move. The office noise faded into the background. The world seems far away. Victor had promised her marriage, and he spoke about their future. Victor had discussed children, and yet, here he was, engaged to somebody else, not planning to get engaged, already engaged. The realization struck like lightning. She had never been the future. She has always been the secret. And once again, another man had taken a piece of her heart before walking away. There was a saying Amara's mother loved to repeat whenever life became difficult. A person who has been beaten by rain does not fear dew. Unfortunately, the saying was not always true. Sometimes, a person who had suffered too much became even easier to deceive. Pain did not always make people wiser. By the time Victor disappeared from her life, Amara was exhausted. Not physically, but emotionally. She was tired of disappointment. She was tired of rebuilding. She was tired of convincing herself that every new man would be different. And most of all, she was tired of watching other people move forward while her own life seemed stuck. She was 26, and then 27, and soon 28. In Umudara, age was not merely a number. It was a public property. Everybody discussed it, especially when the woman was unmarried. The older women in church monitored single ladies the way customs officers monitor suspicious luggages. One Sunday afternoon, after service, Amara made the mistake of standing near a group of elderly women. And immediately, they surrounded her. "My daughter!" Amara nearly sighed. Whenever an elderly woman began a conversation with "my daughter," trouble usually followed. "Yes, Mama. When are we coming to eat rice at your wedding?" Another woman nodded. "We have been waiting." A third woman adjusted her hair tie. "At this rate, your future husband may still be in primary school." Oh. The women bursted into laughter. Amara forced a smile. But inside, she wanted to disappear. The worst part was that they genuinely believed that they were laughing. Other people possess a remarkable ability to wound somebody while claiming to offer encouragement. That evening, she returned home irritated. Her younger sister, Chioma, happened to be visiting. Unfortunately, Chioma was pregnant, very pregnant. The kind of pregnant that announced itself before a woman entered the room. Amara stared at her stomach. Then she shook her head. You swallowed a whole watermelon. Chioma laughed. The baby is healthy. The baby owns property inside your stomach. Their mother laughed from the kitchen. For a few minutes, the atmosphere felt light. Then Chioma casually mentioned baby names. The conversation shifted toward childbirth, then motherhood, and then marriage. Before long, everybody became silent. The reason was obvious. Chioma was younger, yet she already had a husband, a child on the way, and a home of her own. Yet Amara remained single. The silence lasted only a few seconds, yet it felt much longer. And she excused herself shortly after. That night, she sat alone in her room. The familiar question returned. What is wrong with me? She hated that question, but yet she kept asking it. Outside, the rain was tapping gently against her window, and inside, loneliness settled beside her. It was during that season of uncertainty that Ethan entered her life. The meeting happened through a mutual friend. A simple gathering. There was nothing dramatic, nothing remarkable, at least not initially. When Amara first saw him, she almost overlooked him. He was handsome, certainly, tall, well-dressed and very confident. Yet, unlike Daniel and Victor, he did not immediately try to impress everybody in the room. He listened more than he spoke, observed more than he performed, and that alone made him interesting. During the evening, he spoke with several people. He laughed occasionally and asked thoughtful questions. Nothing felt forced, nothing felt rehearsed. When he eventually sat beside Amara, she expected the usual conversation, the predictable compliments, the awkward attempt at flirting. Instead, he surprised her. You look bored. Amara laughed. Is it that obvious? A little. I'm trying my best. I can tell. She smiled. The conversation flowed naturally after that. No pressure. There was no performance, no games. For the first time in years, talking to a man felt easy. When the event ended, Ethan requested her number. But Amara hesitated. Only for a brief though. Then she agreed. Over the following weeks, they spoke often. At first, she remained cautious. Experience had taught her caution. Unfortunately, experience had not taught her suspicion. And that lesson was still coming. Ethan appeared different. He called regularly, kept his promises, and respected her time, and remembered details she mentioned casually. When he said he would arrive at 5 o'clock, he arrived at 5 o'clock. Not 5:30, not 6, not 5. Such behavior should have been normal. Yet, after Daniel and Victor, it felt revolutionary. One evening, they sat at a restaurant overlooking a busy street. Vehicles crawled through traffic. Vendors moved between cars. The city buzzed with life. Ethan stirred his drink thoughtfully. What do you want from life? Amara smiled. That is a serious question. I am a serious man. No. What do you mean no? You ordered ice cream before the main meal. Ethan laughed. Answer the question. Amara looked at the window. For a moment, she considered giving a polite answer. Instead, she spoke honestly. I want peace. The word surprised even Ethan. Ethan studied her carefully. Just peace? She nodded. just peace. And for the first time in a very long time, somebody seemed to understand. No lectures, no jokes, no criticism, just understanding. That moment created a dangerous amount of trust. As months passed, the relationship deepened. Families met, friends approved. Her mother smiled more often. Even the church women finally found another victim to interrogate. Lives seemed to be improving. Then something unexpected happened. Her father called. The number was unfamiliar. At first, she almost ignored it. Something made her to answer. Hello? And there was a silence. Then a voice she had not heard properly in years. Amara. Her body became rigid. She recognized him immediately. Children never forget the voices of people who broke their hearts. Daddy. The word felt strange, like speaking a language she had forgotten. How are you? The question annoyed her. How was she? After 15 years? That was what he wanted to know. She laughed bitterly. I am alive. And then another silence followed. An uncomfortable one. Finally, he spoke up. I heard you are getting married. Of course. News traveled quickly, especially news that did not concern the people spreading it. Yes, I would like to see you. No. The answer came immediately, sharp and certain. No. I said no. Her father sighed, and the sound irritated her. Men always sigh before delivering nonsense. I know I made a mistake. Mistake? Amara, you forgot birthdays. You forgot graduations. You forgot us. Her breathing became heavier. Years of buried anger pushed toward the surface. You do not get to return now because there is a wedding. Her father said nothing. Then, quietly, I deserve that. The response caught her off guard. She expected excuses, defenses, arguments. I am not asking for forgiveness. His voice sounded older and softer. I just want to talk. Amara ended the call soon afterward. Yet something about the conversation unsettled her. For days, she found herself thinking about it. Meanwhile, wedding discussions continued. Everything appeared perfect. Then, the message started arriving. The first came through social media. A single sentence. Ask Eating about Ada. Amara frowned. Then she deleted it. She thought that probably it was from a jealous person. The second message arrived 3 days later. Please be careful. She ignored that one too. Then the third one arrived the following week. You are not the first woman he promised forever. And this time she stared at the screen longer. A cold feeling settled in her stomach. Not fear. Not yet though. It was just a discomfort. When she mentioned it to Ethan, he laughed. The reaction appeared natural, comforting, reasonable, at least initially. People are strange. Who is Ada? She's a former employee. The answer came quickly, too quickly. That's all? That's all. He smiled and then changed the subject. Amara allowed it. After all, suspicious people always look suspicious. That was what she believed. Still, something felt wrong. A tiny voice whispered inside her. A voice she had learned to ignore. The voice returned several days later when she accidentally discovered an old photograph online. The picture showed Ethan standing beside a woman. There was nothing romantic, nothing inappropriate, but yet they looked very close. I mean, very close. The woman's name was Ada. Amara stared at the photograph. Then she stared again. A strange uneasiness settled over her, like somebody walking across her grave. The feeling followed her throughout the day, and by evening she could no longer ignore it. For years, she had dismissed warning signs, ignored instincts, excused behavior, and trusted too quickly. The pattern had cost her dearly. Perhaps this time would be different. And perhaps this time she would ask questions. I mean, real questions. And perhaps, for the first time in her life, she would not run from whatever answers appeared. She did not know it yet, but the truth was already moving towards her, slowly and patiently, like a storm gathering beyond the horizon. There were moments in life when a person stood between two roads without realizing it. One road led toward safety, and the other road led toward disaster. But the problem was that both roads usually and often looked exactly the same. As Amara lay on her bed that night, staring at the ceiling, she could not shake the feeling that something was wrong. The photograph remained fresh in her mind, and Ethan standing beside Ada. The familiarity between them, and the way he answered her questions, too quickly and too smoothly, as though he had rehearsed the answers long before she asked them. Every single time she closed her eyes, the anonymous messages returned. Ask Ethan about Ada. Please be careful. You are not the first woman he promised forever. What if somebody was trying to warn her? What if she was making the same mistakes again? The thought unsettled her. For years, she had ignored warning signs because she was afraid of losing people. Daniel, Victor, and now Ethan. Perhaps fear had become a habit.